Hey everyone, Scott from the recordingsolution.com. Today is part 4 in the compression series, and we're going to talk about parallel compression. I've heard and seen it called New York style compression. So if you see that, we're just talking about the same stuff. But basically what it is, for example, you have this snare track right here. It's just a copy of the snare track or whatever bass track, vocal track. It's just a copy of it, and then you add a compressor to it, and you can manipulate it in a more aggressive way, a lot of compression, make it fatter, make it have more transient, less transient. You can even go as far as adding distortion to it and EQ, but that's called parallel processing. But I just want to talk about parallel compression today. And I'm going to show you a couple examples. Right now I have a snare track right here and then a kick track. And I used to just send all my drums without cymbals and all that, just everything that had skins on it, like kick, snare, toms. And I still do that. I used to send them to a parallel drum bus, which is this drum bus right here, and I add a bunch of parallel compression on that. So I do that too, but today I want to show you a cool trick where I just send the kick and the snare to its own parallel bus track. So that'd be this guy. And so if you see right here, it says snare kick right there. So these are my sends of my original kick sound and original snare sound, and I'm sending a copy of those pre-fader, meaning that it's sending the original copy of the kick and snare before all the EQ and compression that I have on the original tracks. So it's sending those unprocessed sounds, the kick and the snare, to its own track right here, which I labeled snare and kick. And then on that processed bus, its own bus, snare and kick that I'm sending it to, I have compression, and it's going to have a lot of compression. I'm just going to make the kick and snare real fat together, and it's kind of an unnatural sound, but what I'm trying to do is blend it in with the original kick and snare. So if you see the volume right here of the kick, and then the volume right here of the snare, and then this parallel bus for the kick and snare is kind of set lower than them because I'm just kind of blending it in with the original tracks. So I'm going to play the kick and the snare by themselves without that parallel bus, and then I'll kick it on, and then I'll show you what we did. So here's the solo kick and the soloed snare original tracks without the parallel compression, and then I'll kick it on and you'll hear the difference. It's going to sound a little louder. We might be adding a little bit of volume, but it's not much, and it just sounds really fat and in your face and keeps that kick and snare driving, which this song is kind of a rockin' song, so I want to make sure that kick and snare is always present. So let's play it, and then I'll kick it on. So it got a little bit louder, but it got fatter and more aggressive. So I'm not going to show you the individual kick and snare processing, but I do want to show you the snare kick parallel chain. So all it is a compressor. I'm going to unsolo these, and we'll just look at the parallel chain. So here's the parallel chain by itself. And here's without it. I'm going to turn it off. On. So you see how the kick and snare just kind of got evenly matched, got full, got fatter, and just more power. So if you see here, I'm getting like almost negative 12 dBs of gain reduction, which is a lot of compression. Maybe like negative 10 area. And I got a quick attack. So what I'm trying to do is squash that original transient of the kick and snare, and then a slow release. So in essence, I am squashing the peak so it's an even level. It's the same kind of level as the tail of the snare and the kick and the transient. the decay. So I'm making the transient and then the decay of the sounds. I'm going to make those the same volume and then turn everything up. So it's just like a fat snare sound and a fat kick sound that maybe won't sound natural by themselves because there's no like transient and attack and everything. But when you blend those in with the original kick and snare, those will have those initial transients and attacks. And then you're just blending in this parallel bus to make sure that it's all fat as well. So I have about -10 to -12 dBs of gain reduction. And then if you see right here, the gain reduction knob is about 11 dBs turned up to make up for that gain reduction that we're turning down. And then you get that fatness of the kick and snare. And so I'm going to play it in context with the track. I'm going to mute the parallel bus, the parallel chain. And then here's my master drum bus. So all my drums are dumping into this bus. And you'll see the volume level. And when I turn this on, the volume level is going to kind of stay the same. It's not going to get much louder. So that's important. Don't just think something sounds better because it's louder. Always check to see if it's pretty much the same volume and it makes the sound better, then you've done some really cool compression or compression moves. So here's the in context with the full song without this parallel kick and snare bus, and then I'll kick it on and you'll hear that kick and snare just come through a little bit more. So did you hear that? The kick and snare just come through. It's more audible. It's more in your face. It's more driving that rockin' song. So that's part 1 of the parallel compression that I wanted to show you. And then you can do it on a vocal track. Let's go over here. So let's turn on the vocals. And let's solo the vocal. Where is it? Right here. So... And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming, and I'll be... The last tutorial we did, part 3, was using 2 compressors stacked. So go watch that one. There's a link to it at the end of this video. I'm going to get rid of these compressors. I'll keep one. Get rid of this guy. Whoops. So say you set this compressor up to where you wanted it. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my feet. So you do your original, on the vocal track, you do original processing on the original track. You get it sounding natural, you get the transients coming through, everything you want. And then you want to make it fatter and more in your face and more audible. So you could either create a separate track like I did for the snare and kick, and send a copy of the original and do the processing and then bring the volume up with the fader. Or if you have a plugin like Slate Digital does, so we could go, I need to open up the virtual mix rack. And they have something cool called, it's a compressor, but it's got a mix knob in it. So let me show you where so let's use this one. So you see this mix knob? That's kind of the same thing as just creating a whole nother track and using that to blend in. This is kind of that blend knob. So I can compress the crud out of it, but only blend it into the original signal, like 20%, 30%, or to where I want it instead of 100% affecting the vocal. So right now, let's keep it at 0%, but we're going to compress it to get a lot of gain reduction and then see what it sounds like. And I'll be standing my ground, head. And I want to do like a lot of compressions, like 12, ratio of 12, maybe even 20. We'll start with 12. And then I want to get probably like 10 dBs or more gain reduction. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming, and I'll be the man you can. And then attack, that would be a fast attack right there. Slow release. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming, and I'll be the So you're still not hearing this because I have it at 0. So I'm going to bring this up and see what it does. We're going to mix this in with the original track you're hearing right now and see what it sounds like. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming. And I'll be the man you can count on when the shit goes down. And I'll be like a rock, steel toe, hard hat ham. Now if I had it all the way at 100%, you just have a completely squashed vocal. That's not what we want. We still want it to sound natural. So here it is completely squashed. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming. And I'll be... Now it sounds good, but I still want it. I don't want to squash it that much because you're getting like almost 20 dBs of gain reduction. That's insane. So I want to blend it in just to feel a little bit of it. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming. And I'll be the man you can count on. So I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to click it off. See that button? I'm going to click it off, and you'll A-B the difference. So here it is with it on, and then when you see me click this button right here, it'll be off. So just keep watching this button on and off. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming. And I'll be the man you can count on when the shit goes down. And I'll be like a rock, steel toe, hard hat, hammer slinging. And I'll be tough as nails. So you see how it gets more in your face and it sounds louder? But if you look at the volume, this is my master vocal bus that I'm dumping all my vocals into. So look right here, and with it off, you'll see it at a volume. And then when I turn it on, you'll see that it sounds louder, but it doesn't get much louder. You don't see those meters going up too much. So here it is with it off, and then I'm gonna click it on and watch these meters right here. So off. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming. And I'll be the man you can count on when the shit goes down. And I'll be like a rock, steel toe, hard hat, hammer slinging. And I'll be tough as nails. So you see how that sounds fuller and louder, but it did not get louder. So let's listen to that in context with the mix. So let's unsolo this vocal. And then I'm gonna turn this off, and then I'll kick it on while the music's playing. Here we go. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming. And I'll be the man you can count on when the shit goes down. And I'll be like a rock, steel toe, hard hat, hammer slinging. And I'll be tough as nails. And I'll be standing my ground. There you go, and we don't have any effects on there, so let's turn those back on and see what it sounds like. And I'll be standing my ground, head held high with my fist up screaming. And I'll be the man you can count on when the shit goes down. And I'll be like a rock, steel toe, hard hat, hammer slinging. And I'll be tough as nails. So you see I'm only 33% blended. So it's squashing and adding a lot of compression, but we're only blending in 33% of that to the original track. And it's sounding very full and in your face, but also keeping the integrity of the original vocal with the transients and the natural sounding. So that's what I was going for. So those are 2 examples of parallel compression. Again, you can do this on anything. You can do it on a bass guitar. You can do it on electric guitars, snare drums, toms, vocals, anything you can think of if you're trying to add fullness. You can do it on individual tracks, or you can do it on a drum bus where you send all, like the kick, the snare, the toms, everything that doesn't have cymbals. Because if you start sending cymbals to a parallel drum bus, you're going to get a real weird, washy, nasty cymbal sound. So try to be careful with sending cymbals to something that you're going to squash completely and make crazy. But that's what I did, the same process here on the drum plus bus that I set up. I just send the kick, snare, and all the toms to this, and I do some crazy compression, and then I blend it in with the original drum bus that I brought over there for demonstration. But I usually set up a drum bus that all my drums dump into for some extra little bit of just touches of processing. But then I have this kind of drum bus parallel compression track Some people call it a smack track or a crush track, and you see it's lower in volume than the original track. So I just blended it in, and you have to mess with the sounds. And people do that on a band bus. They'll parallel compress everything. So I've even heard of people, I'm scared to do it because I haven't tried it yet, the master fader here that the whole song session is dumping into. Some people will parallel compress the whole song and blend up, but I haven't tried that yet. But go ahead, but be careful. You could overdo it. You could squash the transients and the dynamics of a song really fast. So use your ears. Hope you learned something. Comment below if you have any more questions. I'll try to explain it. Don't forget to sign up for the free ebook. There's links on the end of this video. You can also get a free EQ chart that's popular right now on the site. Click the link at the end of this video, or you can go to therecordingsolution.com/free-tools. I'll have all this linked to the video. Don't forget to subscribe and click those little bells so you know when I'm releasing a video, and you will get notified that I have the video. Join the emailing list on the site, recordingsolution.com. That way you get things delivered straight to your inbox, free content, free tutorials, a lot of stuff, and you won't miss it. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, tell a friend about it. Scott from therecordingsolution.com. We'll see you on the other side.